There, we're back. Nothing worse than a dirty floor. Nice and clean now. Alright, so we got 4 cylinders. We got one rear one. Got 1, 2, 3 front ones. 2 have pistons in them and 1 has studs. So you got 3 civilian cylinder or solo bike, and you got 1 trike or 130 cylinder there. The difference in the 30s, they had nuts and studs, and these are 3/8 thread. And then on the 45, they had, the solo bike, and the 439 and later, they had bolts. And the difference is 7/16 and 3/8. Now these here mysteriously look like they're bigger than 3/8. And they're coarse thread. They should be fine thread, as I recall. So I'm thinking these are actually not the correct thing here. Nope, that's 3/8, so they were correct. 375 is 3/8, 379, 380 with dirt on it. Alright, so those are the correct studs, but I don't recall them being coarse thread. Most of them are fine thread. Just happen to have a couple more down here. Oh, what a shocker, more fronts. Coarse thread. Coarse thread. Looks like coarse thread is what they use. Usually when you have studs, you have fine thread. Yep, these are all coarse. So these are all trikes here. You got a lot of trikes. You got 1 rear one, 1, 2, 3, 4 fronts. And then we got another front. You got 5 fronts and 1 rear. That's pretty good. And of course the rear one's junk. So there you go. Alright, so this is a stud motor. These are going to have 39 casting dates over here. And casting numbers. There we go. Or 36 numbers, excuse me. 39 is when they came out aluminum head and head bolts. 36 is when they came out with a cylinder with a Y manifold, otherwise known as a WL. 35 had a T manifold like a pan head, and it was on a RL motor. And that's from 32 to 35. And then the DL motor was 29 to 31, which is the first year. So this is a camo case here, which is also a flathead. But this bolt pattern does not match that bolt pattern because it's a different cylinder. See the difference? It doesn't match. Whereas this one over here, which is a WL motor, which is a 45 motor, those ones match. See how they line up? There you go. Work that way. See it better. There is a rear cylinder, so it goes on the rear cylinder. Goes like that. It bolts right in like a Y manifold and everything. See, the Y one goes right here. And if you grab one of these over here, this would be matching the front one. It goes together like that. This is not easy to do. Boom! It takes a Y manifold. See, that'd be a V-twin. You can see how the clearances in here. All this works over here. See, so that's how things are done differently. There. Let gravity help you. It sits just fine like that. So you flip your motor upside down, it works just perfect. Self-draining oil, drains right out. So, there you go. That's how that works. And like I said, if you have a stud motor, you have studs sticking out of one side. That's the difference in how they did it. So, there you go. These are W motors. crush this. Just push that in with my thumb right there. That's not good. Don't do that. All right, so this here, we have stud motor, which is your 36 to 38 everything, and then trikes up through 54, I think, when they came out with studs on trikes. Excuse me, on bolts, I mean. I think that's when they did it. So basically all your 40s and 30s had studs, and then on solo bikes 39 and up, when you had the aluminum heads, you got bolts. Now if you had an iron head motor on the W series motor, just a straight W, you might have got a stud cylinder also. Not 100% sure of that, but I would not be surprised if they carried it on for a couple more years to use up inventory and just build it that way. Definitely after the war, they would have studs and bolts. So that's how these things are. Obviously this one here has got a lot of breakage. And this fin here fell off. That's a fresh break. So it probably had one just hanging out there someplace waiting to fall off. This looks like a fresh break right through here. But it came from right here. So that's a shipping damage. Rough handling. Here's how it goes. Just like that. Probably somebody dropping the box on a steel table. Seeing it was in a cylinder, probably broke it. Or it could happen to UPS dropped it. Either way. Boom, popped it off. That cylinder's junk now. It's got a broken fin on it. Can't use it. Yeah, right. So this one's got a lot of breakage on it. Here's some casting dates here. It's a C casting, C variant. Damn, that flange is so stinking thin there. Even by 45 standards, that feels thinner than normal. Damn. They're thin anyway, but geez, that one feels really bad. So obviously this one has some issues with something. So this one here has a nice good casting number on it. It's a K code. K casting mold. That's what I call it. Some people call that a date code. I think it's the actual casting code. What the actual formulas they used. The variant of the code, of the mold. That's how I consider it, but I'm sure other people have other theories. I'm sure they're all good ones too. That one there, I'm not sure what the hell that's supposed to be. Yeah, I guess that might be an L maybe. I guess that's an L. Should make it really, really late. Definitely trike. This thing's pretty rusty here. Nice clean mark. K code. So these two are the same. Those are both K, L, and this is C. So this one goes in between here. So is that a mold code or is that a date code? I don't know. Don't really care. Doesn't matter. They are what they are. So when you're buying these things, you gotta look at certain things. Obviously, if you got a bunch of broken fins, not the best. If you got a broken sleeve, not the best. If the sleeve is really tissue paper thin, definitely not good. See how thin that sleeve is? See how thick this one is? When you see a chamfer on the inside of the sleeve, that's good. That usually means it's pretty thick. So this is probably close to a standard. This one has a piston in it. And if you're lucky, you might be able to identify a number on it. Not really seeing a number. We'll get our fancy scraper up here. Carbide one. It's an A. 70. This a carbide scraper, does not remove metal. It takes off crud. These kind of work, but not too good because they move. Where'd my rag go? That's in my pocket. Duh. Okay, so that is an A, which means it's probably good quality. It's a 70 over, and it's stuck. So that means that cylinder's junk. Unless you want to go to like 90 over, which means it's really, really thin. But the valve seats look pretty damn high up. They don't look like they're sunk too awful bad. They are sunk about 50 thou though. See that lip right there? That's supposed to be flush. This one over here. See how this valve is pretty much flush? A lot higher up. See, it's got a chamfer on the inside of the bore here. That's good. That means there's still some bore left in it. The piston's not so corroded on this one, but I have to do a straight one again to figure out the bore on that one. This one over here. This one has a little bit of a chamfer left here on the inside too. It is thin though. This one's a lot thicker. This one's pretty close to standard, I bet. This one over here. Got a nice heavy chamfer all the way around it. The valve seats are sunk down a little bit. Definitely crusty. It should be relatively big looking, but it's got a real thick sleeve. So this has a lot of valve jobs, but the bore shouldn't be that bad. These two are fairly small bore. This one's huge, obviously. Now you pull out your old caliper over here, and you know for sure what you got. So when you look on eBay for parts, you got to kind of look at all these telltale marks to see kind of where things are at. It's not always just about the color of it. When you're buying parts that wear, it helps to know. Okay, standard bore 750, 749 with crud. How much crud is on that? A little bit, not heavily though. Get over here where I don't have any crud. $750. So that's a standard cylinder there, boss. That's a front standard cylinder. See, the seats are pretty high up, they're not sunk. And it's got the good radius on there, all these things you look for. In this case, it's had that really nice looking piston right here, which is not showing a lot of corrosion on it at all. So I wonder if this is actually a new cylinder. Well, it's 750, so that's not standard. Standard's 48. This thing don't have a ton of mileage on it though. Why is it got such loose bore? No, it's definitely rusted in there. Either way, this is a pretty standard cylinder. It's got a broken fin over here. Nice thick exhaust port like that. See how thin this one is right here? That's called core shift. This is nice and thick, good casting. Yeah. It's got one broken fin here. That's a relatively new brake over here, but not fresh, but relatively new. This has been there for years. Luckily it's on the inside, we don't really see it. It's behind the air cleaner, you're not going to see that. And there's no air back there, it's not like it's going to cool that much anyway. So that's a really nice standard cylinder. That'll be a 10 over after you clean it. The valves are way up high, so that's a good cylinder. This one over here says it's 70 over. That means it should be 820. And we're at 816. There you go, 70 over. 19, 20. There we go. We got our 20. So that's definitely a 70 over. No doubt about it. Okay, this one over here. This one's pretty close to standard again, I bet. Yeah, this one's 10 over. 760. It's 10 over. See, just by looking at it, I could tell it was pretty thin. I mean, pretty small bore. So this one here, got nice thick casting around here. See, this is a later mold. See how they're real thin like this? This is an earlier design. This was a C See, mold, see. I go by mold, not by other stuff. This one here was a L. It's an L code. This one was an L too. Let's see, look how thin it is. This is a K. Look how thin it is. This is an L. Is this a thick one again? It's a thick one again. L is thick. K is thin. But it's thick. And it just might be corrosion, because when you poke the hole in here, if you move it over here, it'd be thick. See, it's all about where you poked it at. But it's a little bit more squared off than this one. This one's pretty square and chunky. This one here is not quite so much. Let's see if there's something going on here or not on thicknesses that really matter. We're roughly around 2 inches across. This one's a 950 across, so it's thin over there. This one's going to be at the 2050. That's definitely a heavy too. And this one here is 800. That's why it's so thin. So later molds have more material in places that matter. Now what you want to make sure you got your cylinder has a nice lip right here. See the step up right here at the flange? It's hard to see on some of these cylinders. But see, it steps up. That's a reinforcement so it doesn't break. The original cylinders are real thin through here and they used to break right here. So aftermarket, they put a big cut right through here, big chatter cut. Really, really thin with the sharp edges on the inside and outside. It's going to break like crazy. It's ridiculous. They're crap. Also the ports. So the ports are nice and smooth in here. The machining looks nice. The aftermarket, they got big chunks of cast iron in here and just sharp edge machine, real thick walls, real uneven. Garbage. So not only are they going to break easy, they're not even going to flow in the air either. That's the aftermarket ones I've seen lately. At least in the 2000s and 10s and 20s. So until there's a new foundry out there making them, make them better, that's how they're made right now. All the Dixie stuff was that way and the early V-twin stuff was the same. So I haven't seen later V-twin, so I don't know if they change it in 23 right now, if they change it, but that's how the original stuff was. Garbage. That's why I always take used cylinders and fix them. So this one we know is huge. This is probably going to be 850. 890. Yeah, there you go. That's out for a sleeve already. That's a 332 sleeve right now is what that's out to, and it's been poked way out for a sleeve. And they never put it in. Now if you try to run that as a motor, it'd run real hot because there's no material. I'm surprised you can bore it that big. That's 150 over and didn't go through. Dang, I'm shocked. But boy, that's going to run hot. How thin that is. Yeah, you hear it different. Yeah. I bought this one here for a mock-up, playing around. Something like this, you don't care if you cut it up or modify it. I want to do a twin carb deal. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do it. I'm either going to use the exhaust port for an intake and put a huge valve in here and probably move it in a little bit, or am I going to just put a big hole out the side here and put a carb out the side, one here and one next to it. This is a prime candidate for doing stuff like that. That's where this head came from when I first started butchering it. This was a crash accident head. This was all broken through here. Right here, these were all broken away. So I was practicing doing a dual plug combo. So I put a dual plug on this thing playing around. And then after I did that, I decided I wanted to build a race bike, so I grabbed the nearest head around to look good. That was this one, so I used it. And this is all weld from here out. That's why it's all smooth. But anyway, I make my bikes out of junk. I experiment, and then I wind up using the experiments. Alright, well there you go. We got this one here is 70 over, so it's going to take 80 to 90, probably at least 90. Yeah, I might clean it 80, that's not that rough. Actually, the rust isn't that heavy up here. Down here it's thicker, but it doesn't feel too barnacly, it's just a lot of surface. This might clean at 80, which is still kind of usable, but it's big. This one here, standard, this one's 10, these are great. That thing's nowhere, garbage. So you look at the stuff on eBay, this is what you're looking for. So this is a 10 over trike cylinder. It's valuable for a trike guy. They don't reproduce trike cylinders, so There you go. All right, that's how you look for them. That's how you figure out what you got. And we'll add it to the pile down there, but that pile's getting too big. I need to do something with that pile. I don't think I have room for 4 more cylinders in that pile. I have to start a new pile somewhere. Yeah, maybe under the bench. It's already full of shit. All right, there you go.